Okay, so we're just exiting Broome and we've had a lovely 6 days here. It's the longest we've stayed anywhere. It's I don't know, 8% of the trip trying to get around Australia. So we got to meet Neville and his wife, who is a great man of God. He's 78 years old and he's still hungering for God's presence and being filled with his spirit and seeing God move. As he got touched when he was a younger man, and it just changed his ways from being a very academic sort of Christian to a spiritual one who waits on God and expects God to get back to him in some tangible form and expects God to be felt. And we met also Chris and his wife. Chris had a really tough time. His daughter had made a wrong choice of partner who has some mental illness. She was struggling, so she was going to come home with a little one. And Chris was ready getting the house done, painting up the room for the little one, when he got the news that the partner had got wind of it and shot his daughter dead and then shot himself. And I'd asked Chris before he told me that story whether he was a man of prayer, and his answer was that story. And saying, yes, I have to pray. Chris, good to meet you today.
Good to meet you as well. Nice to see you here in Port Hedland.
Thank you, mate. I'm here talking with Chris, who's the Director of Operations for Seafarers, which is a Christian organisation which we're going to explore now. So Chris, what is Seafarers?
We're here to support the seafarers and provide them with onshore recreation and communication facilities, provide for their spiritual needs as well as their bodily needs as well. So we'll do a meal for them, take them shopping, ensure they've got communications home. So we're one of 26 seafarer centres in Australia, one of 300 around the world, and we're probably the largest one in Australia and the second or third largest one in the world. Port Hedland obviously is a working port. It's an industrial port. It's the major iron ore exporter out of Australia. So it exports just under 500 million tonnes of iron ore a year.
So in terms of volume of ships coming and going on a day?
We have 19 berths in the harbour, and we'll do 17 ship movements a day. So the ships take 24 to 36 hours to load, and then they're gone again. Most of our trade is between here and northern China and South Korea and Japan.
Okay.
So it's about a 14-day trip one way, so it's about a month, 4 to 5 weeks turnaround time.
What's the life of a standard seaman like, and how many are there on board one of those big ships?
The ships are about 300 metres long by 50 metres wide. We have between 20 and 24 crew on each ship. The guys sign up for 9 months at a time. It's a 9-month contract for most of the working guys. And obviously they're out of mobile phone contact for 2 weeks at a time until they get close to shore again. So it's a pretty tough life.
So where did it actually start? What was the birth of the Seafarers movement?
A little bit arguable, but it's normally put down to the Reverend John Ashley in 1835, sitting on the edge of the Bristol Channel in Bristol in England, looking out at the ships that were anchored out there, and his son said, "Dad, where do the seafarers go for a church service on Sunday morning?" But he was struck by the poor conditions that they worked under. Remember, this is 1835, sailing ships. The British Navy ran with rum and the lash, and they would often press gang young men onto the crews. So quite often a lot of the people were unwilling crewmen on there, and conditions were pretty tough. He was struck by that and thought there should be a way of assisting these people. So in accordance with God's command to go out and look after the poor and needy, it really is the basis for the mission to seafarers. But seafarers generally tend to be spiritual people. You are exposed to the ocean. You're out of sight of land for a lot of your trip. You are very much part of the creation. And most of them have a sense that there is a very, very powerful force out there that drives the ocean, and something created it. So all of them have a fundamental, I think most human beings have a spiritual need. There is a God-sized hole in most people that needs filling.
Thank you, Chris. Great job.
My pleasure.
Great work. Okay, so we're coming into Karratha, just a couple of 100 k's south of Port Hedland. It's also a mining town. It's been boom and a bit of bust really. So a lot of the mining has gone off the boil, and it's caught a lot of people out. A lot of miners come up here to make their money, and they've invested in a premium real estate market, maybe even up to $1.2 million for a home, and they got caught out by the crash, or rather the downturn, and you know, their properties are now unfortunately worth $400,000, so they're sitting there with some of them $1 million debt with a $400,000 property, and it's pretty tricky, and they're scrapping for work. According to the local Baptist pastor, the spiritual temperature is fairly tough here. He was someone who did quite a few years up at Kununurra, which is an indigenous population which has a lot of issues with youth suicide, alcoholism. But they're very spiritual people, and found himself having to pray spiritually for people, deliverance ministry and things of that nature, which was all quite a new territory for him. So he came here, and it's quite the opposite. They're very focused on material gain and material wealth.
Mark Wilson.
Hi, how you going?
Good, mate. Pleased to meet you in Karratha.
It's fantastic to be up here in Karratha.
What are you doing here?
Well, the role I have is I'm the Director of Ministries for the Baptist Churches of Western Australia. So we've got around about 123 churches throughout the state. But I have a real passion and a heart for our remote churches and our remote pastors. So I actually take specific responsibility to care and encourage and support and pray. And so one of my big things is actually coming up here in their environment, meeting with them and their churches every year. So this is my 11th year in the role. And so every year I come up here, and we've been at Newman Baptist, Tom Price Baptist, been up there at Headland Baptist, and now we're down here in Karratha. That's why we're here today. If people can just turn their head and look towards Jesus, because of people like you and myself, and they actually kind of like, okay, that person's actually a good person, and they're a follower of Jesus, and they turn their head not away, but they actually turn towards Jesus, and then hopefully through relationship and prayer and then on numerous occasions being open to the message of the good news of the gospel, they make a time in their life when they say yes to Jesus for the first time to become a Christian. But then we want people to say yes to Jesus for their whole life. We want them to say yes to Jesus when I'm going to get baptised. I'm going to say yes to Jesus when he calls me to serve in a local church. I'm going to say yes to Jesus when he calls me to go and be a pastor. I'm going to say yes to Jesus when he calls me to travel around Australia on motorbikes doing exactly what you're doing.
Yes, Jesus.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's infectious, mate. I feel pretty pumped after that.
That's good.
You're obviously gifted. Could you share any reflections about the spiritual temperature in the West, or the spiritual temperature in Australian churches?
So how's our temperature? I actually see there's in this season a real openness to the Holy Spirit. And we just actually had a conference just recently called Whisper. And hearing the voice of Christ, hearing the voice of the Holy Spirit. And often he speaks not in the loud noise, not in the thunder, but sometimes it's just one whisper from God can make a radical difference. So I think that would be a really positive thing. The other thing I've been talking to you about is about pastors. So I'm being a pastor myself for so many years. I know that all the good, the bad and the ugly are around that. So I've got a real heart for pastors.
If you had an opportunity to speak to any pastors or leaders that are responsible for people, to change to mentor good, empowering behaviour over what may be somewhat less than that, perhaps even bordering on controlling, would you give any keys or tips to those that are trying to overcome any of those tendencies?
Yeah, I think just being honest and real. You mentioned a word then, controlling. Whenever you have a pastor or people in churches who want to control, that's a major problem. That's verging on the form of being in the demonic a little bit. Okay, I don't want to focus too much on that, but there's tendencies of that. That's a really big problem. The biggest part of that is, am I aware that that's happening? If I'm aware and I want to change, then I can work with anybody. But if I'm not aware and I don't want to change, you're stuck in a box and you're controlling your life. You can sometimes controlling the church, and you've got God in a little box like this. And I just pray that God just smashes that box away and allows people to walk in freedom in the Spirit, and being set free to think and go, it's not about me, it's about what Christ is doing in me through the person and the power of the Holy Spirit. And that would be my advice. Just be open and don't be too serious.
My solution to controlling behaviour myself is to look at the fivefold ministries of God and to see that there's 5 different perspectives, 5 different opportunities and 5 different ways of ministering, which not competing with each other but completing the picture. It's just having that listening ear to say, okay, am I biasing my own gifting in this area, or have I got to listen to my brother or sister's approach?
Yeah, no, it's good. That's great.
All right, mate. Well, look, this has been instructive and powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
Okay, so we just got stuck behind that wide load. Wow. Doing the right thing. Pulled off the side so we can get through. Massive truck. But he took the opportunity to sneak up in front of this guy in front of me, who's just decided to absolutely fall in love with the centre line there, as you can see. And he's going to be a bit of trouble to get around, but anyway, he seems to be wanting to stay on that centre line for some reason. I will take my opportunity when it presents itself. Can I overtake, love?
Oh, it's been like 500 Ks, I'm tired, so I'm getting pushed by hubby. Nothing finer than the Matic. No, hammock. And then, my mighty steed is over there. He's having a rest in the shade too, he's done well. Happy days.
So, Betty,
Yes.
episode number 5.
Well, we've gone from one environment, the beautiful Broome, and all the beautiful wildlife there, into the Pilbara region.
Dry, dusty, mining town.
Mine-like, yes.
So, did we actually stay in the mining towns?
No, we didn't. Yeah, we hooked off to the coast and found some nice beach resort type places, and it was a lovely, nice reprieve.
So, I think on our way to Port Hedland,
Yeah,
we stayed where?
80 Mile Beach.
80 Mile Beach. How long was the beach?
80 miles, I guess, honey.
Okay.
We did ask the question.
And when we arrived there, our whole point was to try and get a picture of the stairway
To
or
the moon.
staircase to the moon.
Yeah,
which is amazing when the full moon is full.
Yeah.
The reflection of the moon over the mud flats irregularity makes the staircase look.
Yeah.
So we actually spent a bit of time on the beach and we nailed that shot.
We got that shot, honey.
We got that shot.
And while we're at the beach, we had an argument. And it was the few times we've had an argument on our trip. And it happened to be the time where it was like, put your whole voice on megaphone. People could hear from 100, 200 metres away, just talking like this. It was insane. I couldn't believe it. But we needed to have that argument. And I don't even know what it was about anymore.
Who does?
But it was quite funny because I thought the irony of the only time we have, the few times we have an argument, and it's where everyone can hear what you're saying. Yeah, they were very polite though and just walked past us.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, we ended up in Port Hedland, and you made a comment as we came into the place.
Riding in, and there's big bridges, big train tracks, big trains, big ships.
How long was the train?
2 kilometres long. It was amazing. I'd never seen anything like it. It's another world there. We went from one environment to the other, and it was just amazing. And I just had this picture in my mind that it was like a kid's play set, Tonka toys. And
Tonka toys for big boys.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so from there we made our way off to Karratha, which is also in the Pilbara, another mining town. And on the way through Roburn, or Roebuck, or Roburn? Roburn, we saw an old jail.
Yeah.
And you were keen to see the new jail. How'd that go?
Yeah, there's big signs there, don't take photos. I was freaking out. I'm like, quick, do a U-turn. And it was really sad because there's a lot of people incarcerated in those jails. And I just thought the tragedy of it, there's vast land of space and they're cramped up in these jails. It just seems inhumane, but yeah.
It was current at the time. There was a very young kids had been abused in Roburn, and it was part of the
big sort of town
outcry, really.
And
the local Baptist pastors were, in fact, even in Karratha, were going back up there to try and just add some value and help the families, help the kids off the street, make them safe. All right, so Betty, we're staying at the beautiful Point Sampson rather than head into the not so beautiful Karratha, which actually wasn't too bad.
No, it's actually all right.
Yeah, but Point Sampson was just a recharge and a refill. It was beautiful.
Lovely.
And then on the way, the 50k drive to the church in Karratha, I thought, we don't know anyone.
Yeah.
Oh, what's going to happen here? Oh, it's a long way to go.
Yeah.
Should we go? And I prayed out loud. I said, God, can you please make this worthwhile, and can you make there a divine connection, please? And what happened?
Yeah, well, we had emailed the Director of Ministries of Baptist Ministries before we left.
Of Western Australia?
Yeah, Western Australia, and he sort of said he's around about different places, so it looked like we weren't going to hook up, so we didn't really bother. But as we got to the church, they were introducing the Director of Ministries, and I was like, yes.
Mark Wilson. Who knew?
Yeah, so we nailed that interview, so that was really good, and he's so passionate. He blessed us so much, so thank you, Mark, because he was really lovely. He actually said encouraged us. It was one of the few people that encouraged us.
Yeah, you need a bit of courage when you're out there.
Yeah,
keep going.
Yeah, and to do what we were doing. That was lovely. And he prayed for us.
I think he saw the spiritual side of what we were doing. It wasn't just a holiday. It was actually, you know what, guys, you committed this to God, and and he added his more than 2 cents worth. All right, so from here we're heading off to...
Yeah, we're going to Ningaloo Reef.
The Coral Coast.
Yeah.
What's so special about Ningaloo Reef? World Heritage?
Oh, is it?
It's World Heritage.
I forgot.
It's World Heritage. So it was about the level of Brisbane on the east coast. It's sort of cut across, and you've got Ningaloo Reef. We had an amazing day there. Anyway, that's for the next episode.
See you
then.
See you guys.